Welcome back to Talk Tickers, the show that breaks down earnings calls for you.
That's right.
And today we're going to be looking at the FIGS Q3 2024 earnings call.
Yep, it's November 7th.
November 7th. FIGS, of course, the scrub company, the trendy scrubs, everybody loves them.
The fashionable scrubs.
The fashionable scrubs, yeah. They had kind of a roller coaster quarter, so we're gonna unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot going on in this quarter, so we'll break it all down.
So let's start with the foundation, the bread and butter, those core scrubs, scrubwear.
Right.
Actually saw a 2% increase in scrubwear sales, even though their overall revenue dipped a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Their core business is still very strong. They've got very loyal customers, nurses, doctors, all the healthcare professionals out there love those scrubs.
Yeah, and you know what? People always need healthcare, so it's kind of a built-in advantage there.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about marketing, because they really hit a home run with their Olympics campaign this year.
Yeah.
They outfitted over 250 Team USA medical personnel.
That's right. And got over 1 billion earned media impressions.
Yeah, 1 billion with a B.
With a B, that's incredible.
I talk about brand awareness, right?
Yeah.
They just put themselves out there in a huge way. And what I think is so smart about what they did is that they really tapped into the inspirational themes of the Olympics.
Yeah.
So it's not just about selling scrubs. It's about associating their brand with achievement and national pride. You know, those feelings that go far beyond just buying a product.
Yeah, they weren't just selling scrubs, they were selling the feeling of the Olympics.
Exactly.
And then, they followed it up with a very similar activation at the US Open Tennis Championship. So they're really getting into the sports world.
Yeah, like, aligning themselves with healthcare professionals in these high-profile sporting events, it's just such a smart move. It really elevates the brand.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk international expansion, which is always an important thing to look at when you're thinking about growth. And FIGS is now operating in 33 countries. That's right. Yeah. And they're seeing particularly strong growth in emerging markets like Mexico and the Philippines.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this highlights the massive global potential for FIGS.
Yeah.
The vast majority of healthcare professionals are outside the U.S.
Right.
And Asia in particular presents a huge opportunity for them.
Yeah, and to get ready for all that future growth, they've been investing heavily.
Right.
They opened a new fulfillment center, a state-of-the-art fulfillment center in Arizona.
It's huge.
And then they also made a $25 million investment in OG, which is a healthcare education platform.
Yeah, these are smart moves, right? I mean, even though they might impact short-term margins, they're really crucial for long-term profitability. That Arizona facility is going to allow them to scale their operations so efficiently.
Right.
And partnering with OG, it just opens up all sorts of new avenues for them to connect with healthcare professionals.
Yeah, it shows that they're thinking long-term. They're not just thinking about next quarter, they're thinking about the next decade. Now, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows this quarter. Their footwear line didn't quite meet expectations.
Yeah.
It seems like there were a couple of missteps there. They decided to exclude footwear from some of their promotions.
Right.
And they delayed their New Balance collaboration, which people were really looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like they might have underestimated the demand for their shoes.
Yeah, maybe.
And then they had some out-of-stock issues with that popular retro style.
Yeah, it just wasn't a great quarter for footwear.
No. They definitely have some work to do there if they want to make footwear a bigger part of their business.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of missteps, their back-to-school promotion also seems to have missed the mark a little bit. They pushed it back later in the year.
Right.
And it kind of got lost in the noise of everybody else's back-to-school stuff.
Yeah. Timing is everything in retail, especially during those key shopping periods.
Yeah, they just weren't top of mind when people were doing their back-to-school shopping.
Exactly.
And then we have to talk about AOV, average order value, which is, how much people spend on average when they place an order.
Yeah, a super important metric for any retailer.
Yeah, and unfortunately that took a 5% dip this quarter, lower units per transaction, higher discounts, and some accounting changes related to duty subsidies all seem to have played a role there.
Yeah, that AOV decline is definitely a trend to watch. It could signal some pressure to discount more aggressively in the future, just to keep sales volume up.
Right.
And we got to keep an eye on those margins.
Okay, so we've talked about the good, the bad, but now let's get to the interesting stuff, the stuff that hints at what might be coming down the pipeline for FIGS. And one thing that really caught my eye is their focus on fit standardization.
Oh, yeah.
They're planning a big campaign around that in January of 2025.
You know, fit is one of the biggest pain points for online shoppers, especially when it comes to apparel. So
Yeah.
if FIGs can really nail that consistency across all their products, it's going to be huge for them.
Totally. I mean, we've all been there, right? You order something online
Yeah.
and it just doesn't fit right. And you're like, ugh.
Uh,
Yeah. So if they can solve that problem, that's a big win.
Absolutely. And it shows that they're really focused on improving the customer experience.
Yeah. They're also experimenting with new ways to reach customers beyond just the website.
Right.
They opened a second community hub in Philadelphia.
Which is a really cool concept.
Yeah, basically it's a, kind of a fancy store where healthcare professionals can hang out, connect with each other, and of course, buy some Fidgis.
Yeah, it's smart, right? It gives
Yeah.
them a physical presence, allows them to build a community.
Yeah.
And it's just another way to engage with their customers.
Yeah, it's like a clubhouse for healthcare professionals.
Exactly.
And speaking of exploring new avenues, their Teams business, which is focused on selling to large healthcare organizations.
Right.
It's starting to show some real promise.
Yeah, they're even building an outbound sales team to
Yeah.
go after those bigger contracts, especially internationally.
Yeah, so that could be a big growth driver for them in the future.
Absolutely. Diversifying their revenue streams is always a good thing.
Yeah. So before we get to our This Is Not Financial Advice segment, where we come up with some completely wild trade ideas,
Always my favorite part.
let's just recap what we've learned about FIGs so far.
All right, so we saw that their core business is still very strong.
Yeah.
Scrubwear sales are up. They have a very loyal customer base. But they did have some stumbles with footwear, and the back-to-school promotion didn't quite land the way they hoped.
Right?
But they're making smart investments for the future.
Yeah.
They're focused on international expansion, they're improving the customer experience, and they're exploring new channels like the Teams business.
Yeah, it seems like they're aware of the challenges and they're taking steps to address them.
Exactly. So overall, I'd say the long-term outlook for FIFIs is still positive, but they're going to have to execute well in the coming quarters to really capitalize on all these opportunities.
All right, so now for the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
This is not financial advice.
Disclaimer.
That's a thought experiment, a little exercise.
Oh, brain teaser.
So I'm feeling a little bit adventurous after this deep dive into Figgy's S, and I'm thinking, what if we short sell Lululemon
Whoa.
and use those hypothetical profits to go long on Figgy's S?
Now that's a bold move.
It is a bold move, but hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Lululemon, they're everywhere these days.
Yeah, they're kind of the king of athleisure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But athleisure might be peaking.
You think so?
I think so. I mean,
Oh.
How many pairs of yoga pants does one person really need?
That's a good point.
Whereas scrubs, they're not exactly a fashion statement.
True.
But that's the beauty of it. It's a stable market. People always need healthcare workers, always need scrubs.
Yeah, healthcare's not going out of style anytime soon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Lululemon might be a little bit overvalued right now.
Okay.
And Figgy's S might be a little bit undervalued because of those recent hiccups we talked about.
So you're thinking buy low, sell high.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a high risk, high reward play for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Short selling is not for the faint of heart.
No, but it's fun to think about.
It is. It's definitely a thought-provoking idea.
And again, this is not financial advice. Do your own research.
Please do your own research.
This purely hypothetical, just a fun way to stretch our analytical muscles.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, so we've explored the good, the bad, the intriguing, and even the outrageous with FIGS today.
We've covered it all.
But ultimately, it's up to you, the listener, to decide what you think about this company.
That's right. We've given you the information. Now you get to decide.
Exactly. So do your own research,
Mm.
think about your own investment goals, and then make an informed decision.
Wise words.
Now, before we move on to our final segment, where we connect all of this back to you, the listener, and explain why this matters,
Okay.
I just want to emphasize one really important thing.
What's that?
This is just a snapshot in time.
Right.
The market changes, companies change. You can't base your entire opinion on just one quarter's performance.
You got to stay informed. You got to keep track of their progress over time.
Exactly. So keep that in mind as we move forward.
Sounds good. It's true. You got to keep an eye on the bigger picture.
Now, one thing that really stood out to me this quarter was just how much FIGS talked about the customer experience.
Yeah.
They talked about standardizing fit. They talked about faster delivery. They even talked about those community hubs, which we discussed.
Right.
It seems like they're really laser focused on making customers happy.
And that's smart, right? In today's market, you really got to go above and beyond to win customers over and keep them coming back.
Yeah, you can't just offer a great product anymore. You got to offer a great experience too.
Exactly. And let's not forget who their target customer is.
Yeah.
These are healthcare professionals, people who work incredibly long hours. They're in high-pressure situations. They need apparel that's not going to let them down.
Yeah, their scrubs are like their armor.
Right. It's got to be comfortable, it's got to be functional, and it's got to look good.
Yeah, they need to feel confident in what they're wearing.
Exactly. And FIGS gets that they understand that their products are more than just clothes. They're tools that help these healthcare workers perform at their best.
Yeah, so they're not just selling scrubs, they're selling peace of mind.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about their core business, their marketing efforts, their growth plans, but we also got to consider the competition.
Right. FIGS isn't the only player in the game.
Yeah, they're up against some pretty big traditional uniform companies.
Right.
And there's a whole wave of trendy startups trying to get a piece of that healthcare apparel pie.
It's a crowded market for sure.
Yeah. So how does FIGS stand out in all that noise?
Well, I think they have a few key advantages.
Okay.
First, they've built a really strong brand. They have a very clear identity and they resonate with their target audience.
Right.
Second, they've invested heavily in both product innovation and customer experience, which we just talked about.
Right.
And third, they're very data-driven.
Yeah.
They're constantly analyzing the market and adjusting their strategies accordingly.
So they're agile.
Yeah, they're able to move quickly and adapt to change, which is crucial in today's fast-paced world.
Okay, but let's be real. Advantages don't always guarantee success.
Right.
What are some potential roadblocks that FIGS might encounter in the future?
Well, one challenge is going to be maintaining their premium pricing.
Yeah.
Consumers are getting more and more price conscious these days, especially with inflation being a concern.
Yeah. Everybody's looking for a bargain.
Exactly. And another hurdle is going to be managing their growth effectively.
Yeah.
As they expand internationally and into new channels, it's going to be tough to maintain that same level of quality and customer focus.
Right. It's easy to lose sight of what made you successful in the first place when you're growing that quickly.
Exactly. And then there's the fashion factor.
Yeah.
Scrubs are functional, but they're not exactly known for being trendy.
Right.
So can FIGS stay ahead of the curve and keep their designs fresh and appealing?
Yeah. Can they make scrubs cool?
That's the question, right? They've done a good job with those limited edition styles and collaborations, but they're going to have to keep innovating if they want to stay on top.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't just rest on their laurels.
Right. They got to keep pushing the boundaries.
Okay, so FIGS has a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
They got to manage growth, they got to outmaneuver the competition, and they got to keep their customers happy.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. So what are some concrete signs that we should look for in the coming quarters as indicators of their success?
Well, I think there are a few key areas to monitor.
No?
First, their international expansion. Are they gaining traction in new markets? Are they adapting their products and marketing to local preferences?
Right.
Second, keep an eye on their AOV and customer acquisition costs.
Yeah.
Can they maintain those healthy margins while attracting new customers?
Right. Those are important metrics.
Absolutely. And finally, watch their innovation pipeline. Are they introducing new products and features that excite their core customer base?
Yeah. Are they still pushing the envelope?
Right. They got to stay ahead of the game.
Okay. So you've laid out the challenges and the opportunities for FIGS. What's your overall assessment? Are you bullish or bearish on their long-term prospects?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they have a lot going for them. They
Yeah.
have a strong brand, a loyal customer base, and a capable leadership team.
Right.
But the industry is very competitive and things can change quickly.
Yeah. No one's guaranteed success in this business.
Exactly. So it all comes down to execution. Can they deliver on their promises? Can they adapt to the changing market?
So we've explored the good, the bad, and the intriguing aspects of FQ3 earnings call.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We've dissected their financials, analyzed their growth strategies, and even entertained some pretty wild trade ideas.
It's been a fun ride.
But at the end of the day, it's up to each individual investor to decide whether FIGS is a company they believe in.
Right. We've given you the information. Now it's your turn to do your own research and make an informed decision.
Exactly. So think about your own investment goals.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence, and then decide if FUS deserves a place in your portfolio.
Wise words.
Now, before we move on to our final segment where we connect all of this back to you, the listener, and talk about why this matters,
Okay.
I just want to emphasize one really important point.
Go for it.
This is just a snapshot in time.
Right.
The market is constantly changing. Companies are constantly evolving. You can't base your entire opinion on just one quarter's performance.
Exactly. You got to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Got to track their progress over time.
Right. So keep that in mind as we move forward.
Sounds good.
So we've covered a lot of ground with FIGS, financials, marketing, growth plans, all that good stuff. But what does it all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care about what's happening with this company?
Well, I think FIGS is a really interesting case study because their story kind of highlights a lot of the broader economic trends that we're seeing right now. The impact of inflation on consumer spending, the challenges of building a global brand, the constant need to innovate.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm of what's happening in the business world.
Exactly. And I think there are a lot of valuable lessons to be learned from their experience, whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or just someone who's interested in business in general.
And let's not forget the human element here.
Yeah.
FIGS is a company that serves the healthcare community. These are the people who are on the front lines taking care of us when we're sick, and FIGS is providing them with apparel that helps them do their jobs comfortably and confidently.
That's right. Their products are more than just clothes. They're tools that help healthcare workers feel good and perform at their best.
So we've analyzed their numbers, we've debated their strategies, but before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We've talked a lot about FIGS as a company, but what about FIGS as a cultural phenomenon?
That's an interesting angle.
They've created a brand that goes beyond just selling scrubs. It's about community. It's about empowerment. It's about a shared sense of purpose.
Yeah, they've really tapped into something special. They've created a tribe, a movement of healthcare professionals who identify with their values and aesthetic.
Exactly. And that's not something you can just manufacture. It's about forging genuine connections, fostering a sense of belonging, and creating a brand that people truly believe in.
So I guess the question for the listener is, what brands do you connect with on that deeper level? What companies are doing more than just selling products or services, but are actually making a difference in the world or building a community that you want to be a part of?
Yeah, that's the beauty of these deep dives. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the human side of business and how it connects to our own lives.
It's about finding the companies that resonate with your values and that are making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep investing in the companies that you believe in.
And keep listening to Talk Tickers.
That's right. This is Talk Tickers signing off. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive in the world of FIGS. We'll see you next time.